Hey there. Welcome to episode number 10 of Tribe. This episode is a milestone for me because it is number 10. I chose to bring one of the most interesting people I know, my friend Adriano. Adriano is this incredible human being who has been at the top and been at the bottom. He is one of the most well-informed people I know, but yet he's one of the most humble. Isn't that interesting? How you can have so much knowledge, but still understand that you're not the most knowledgeable person in the room. That's him. I will not tell you what we spoke about in this episode because I believe that's not the right way to portray it because it's kind of like cheating. I'm giving you away the answers. Therefore, I'm not going to say anything about it. I'll just let it start. So without further ado, I welcome you to episode 10 of Tribe. All right, bro. So it's been a minute since the last time we talked.
It's been a long time, bro.
It has been a long time. What? Over a year? A year?
A year? I think like 9 months.
Yeah, who's counting?
I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you been?
Very busy, bro. Running a business is fucking stressful,
Yes. No one said it would be easy.
bro. Especially when you make money so fast before,
Mm-hmm.
like in crypto.
Yeah.
Like, I was making like thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, I think I had a day that I made like 15K.
Mm.
And then going from that to running a business where you're working and then there's no immediate results.
Yeah.
Bro, that's fucking rough, bro.
Yeah. What's the sense of love that you get out of it? Like, in crypto, you kind of get instant gratification from it. But with a business, you kind of learn to groom it and you harness the problems and you turn them into love pretty much for what you're doing into the craft.
Turning into love. That's a deep question. I mean, I wouldn't say it's love, but then a cool way to put it, like the reason that I actually work, it's is by, I guess, tapping into the love of the future. So like if I have a business that's sustainable and it's making me 10, 15K a month, and then I have employees that are able to take care of it, and then I guess I put myself out of it, then I have something where basically I can be autonomous without having to work. Basically I have that, but then to get to that point, I need to draw from the love of that vision. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see.
So that vision is what keeps me going. So that for your question, that vision is what drives me. Just like if I can sustain myself, I can work from anywhere. I can take my girl out to a beach and then have my laptop and then have just work from there. That love of that vision is what keeps me going because there's so much resistance to do the hard part when you're, bro, like sales, outreach, like, and then service delivery, like that's a lot of work. And especially when I'm doing it myself, everything. And then there's so much resistance. So like, like in the beginning, to grow a business, you have to sell a service to somebody, right?
Yes.
And the biggest thing, bro, for me, outreach was a pain in the ass. Like I was sending messages to certain people, like on Facebook, because like I grew from 10 to 5K just by sending messages on Facebook. But then most people send messages just like, hey, I have this, and then they have an offer and it's copy paste. I was sending Loom videos, like videos personalized to every single client. And then there was so much resistance to me doing that because it was so much work. And then, but like me doing that consistently, I had to like draw to the vision of like that vision of like me having an actual business that sustains itself. But basically, I don't have to do any work to do that minute task where like basically 90% of the people are going to say no. But then you're looking for that one yes. And it's like, bro. And then you get to the part when you have someone going to say yes to an appointment and then you have to do sales. And then sales is a pain in the ass. Like you have no idea. You have to sell a service to a complete stranger and tell them to pay you $3 to $4K. And then this person is a stranger. Like, do you understand how hard it is to like actually like gain trust with a complete stranger?
What's your definition of money?
My definition of money?
Yes.
I guess freedom in a way. Freedom, or it's a tool. But it could be. But money only amplifies who you are.
Yes. Would you say that it amplifies the time that you have?
Amplifies the. In what way? Like
it creates the freedom. Because if you have money, then you have unlimited time. Because you work for the money to obtain the necessities that you need.
Well, if you have money, you have leverage.
Yes, you have leverage.
Right.
So that's why it's so hard, because the money that you're not asking, that you're getting from the people, not only are they big amounts, they're also strangers, and they're willing to invest that money to earn some time back for themselves.
Right.
Your end vision is freedom. That's what it sounds like. So they are also trying to do the same thing.
Yep.
So I guess it's understanding what the customer really wants as the end vision for themselves.
And that's a big part of sales. So like for me to sell my service, I have to let them know that my service is going to get them to that vision that they have. So basically I have to paint them. So they want to have reliable leads. So basically, and then they don't want to do any more work than they already have. They don't want to complicate their life, right? And then they want to have a specific income goal, basically. And then my service is going to get them there, right? So I have to paint them that my service is going to get them from A to B.
Yes.
And then I have to put them so clear in their mind that they have no other choice but to go with me, because it's so clear that with my service, they're going to go from A to B. And that's the basis of sales.
Yes. Yeah. That's pretty much sales defined in
a
minute.
But it's so difficult to do it in the moment. It's very difficult.
It sounds very easy, but there's so much that goes into it. First of all, people don't really enjoy asking other people for stuff, and just reaching out and, like you said, taking the time to actually do it one by one and writing a personalized message for each person. That is a lot of work.
Bro, it's a lot of work, a lot of no's. A lot of people can tell you to fuck off, and it's discouraging in the beginning. It
builds your character.
It does. And right now I was doing cold calling, because prior to me doing this, I was doing cold calling. I was selling business loans. But then in the beginning, everybody would tell me no. Like, bro, it was so discouraging when I would call, and I was giving them money, and I was like, yo, how can you say no to money? And then within the first week, I started getting yes, because I started like changing my tonality, changing the way I say things, you're saying things in a specific way, and like, holy shit, this actually works. Like me just calling, because like for me, I had a belief, if somebody calls me trying to sell me something, why would I fuck? I don't know this person. But then me doing it, I'm like, holy shit, people don't have time. Like if somebody needs a service and then somebody calls me and sells me that service, I'm like, holy shit. It's like an act from God. So what you're looking for is that 1% of the people that need your service at that specific time. It's like 90% of people don't need your service, but then you're looking for that 10%, that 5%. So if you do 100 calls, maybe one person will need your service.
So it's really about showing them that they do need your service, or just striking luck.
When in terms of outreach, you're looking for that specific section of the market that is ready to buy at this moment.
I see. So you're not just randomly picking from a random population. You're actually going in there and educating yourself on the population, and then calling those specific people.
That's when you're getting to like very, very high end ticket sales, when you're starting selling like enterprise software, when like 5 to 50K packages, then you do a lot of research prior to outreach. But when I'm selling a service, like for me, it's like 3 to 5K. Most business owners need marketing. Like most need marketing. But most of them already have a solution, or most of them have already been burned by another service. So you're looking for that specific section of the market that that doesn't currently have a solution, or they're unhappy with their solution and they want to switch. So, but if you do 100 dials a day, at least one person is going to be interested. At least one. So every single time that I send 100 messages, or I dial 100 times, or I'll send 100 emails, at least one person out of 100 is going to be interested in whatever you have to sell.
That's beautiful. That goes great with something that I heard recently. That's it depends on how many times you post a day is how many your return on views and followers you will obtain. Consistency, yes, because consistency means eyes, and people see that, and so they'll remember you. The more you see something, the more you remember it. So if you're constantly going out there and putting your name out, you learn from that.
That's why ads work.
Yes,
like ads. Most of the time you see an ad, you don't buy. But there's 1% of people who do. That's why it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? Like most of the time, I never buy from an ad.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 1% of people who might need that at that specific time. So 1%. So, and if it makes sense to advertise, basically, I run ads for my clients, right? So basically, people might need roofing services.
Mm-hmm.
So like I show that ad to 1,000 people, one might click yes and sign up, right?
Yeah.
But then one roof costs $15K, and then I spent $80 to show that ad to 1,000 people.
Mm. I see. The return on investment is so much greater.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So it's like.
Let me ask you something. So you went from crypto to leads, right? To generating leads. Why the dramatic switch?
Well, I've tried a lot of things to make money.
Mm-hmm. How come you stopped with the crypto if you were already being profitable?
Well, I lost it all.
Okay, so why? How?
Well, basically, I caught in the beginning 2017. 2017, that's when I started looking at crypto because I saw that crypto moves in 4-year cycles. And then in that time, I started buying Ethereum a little bit by little bit when Ethereum was like $300. So I started buying a little bit until like 2020, everything popped off. And then basically the little bit turned to a lot. But then basically my mind went crazy with all the gains. And then I was seeing so much potential in the space. I started to mess with leverage. So when you mess with leverage, that's when things get scary. Because leverage, you can buy a coin and it goes down, you still own that coin. But then when you add in leverage, you lose everything. You lose the whole capital.
Mm-hmm. It's exponential.
Right. So if you decide to bet on Ethereum going up and then you get liquidated on Ethereum, then you lose. Say you put 5K and now you put leverage so you have 50K. And then if it goes below a certain threshold, you lose the 5K. So if you buy Ethereum or any crypto, you put 5K and then token goes down, you still might have a chance for you to recover that because you still own the asset.
Do you think it is a profitable business if you're educated enough in it? Or do you think it's just a gamble all the way?
Right now, everything's going up.
But that's out of your control.
Right.
That's a gamble.
It's a gamble. I mean, most of it is gamble. But there is, you only have to be 65% right to make money.
Correct.
So if you can tilt the odds some way towards you, then you can make money. Even 55%, you can make money. But you need to know how to cut your losses soon. But if you let your winnings run and then you cut your losses soon, then you can make a lot of money. But the problem is when it comes to trading in crypto, everything that you know is the complete opposite. Like emotions and logic don't make sense. So like you feel like you should sell here, but then you hold it and then you have no idea why.
That's greed.
Yeah, it's greed. But like the thing is, if you haven't done it before and you know what the emotions are telling you, that you should be doing the opposite. Like people that have been in the markets for 10, 20, 30 years still fucking like go bankrupt. Like they still like lose millions and millions because they didn't follow their emotions, or like it's like that the logic is so skewed when it comes to reading charts and reading markets. It is so difficult to be disciplined. It is so difficult to be disciplined when it comes to markets because nobody knows what's going to happen and you don't know. And most people never follow a strategy. Most people just go by emotions. That's why people lose money. And most people that bought Dodge in the last run, they're all broke because they didn't know when to sell. And then that guy that had like Dodge, like the Dodge Millionaire, like he went broke because he didn't know when to sell. And then he probably sold at the bottom. It's just the way it works.
How do you feel about making quick money to earning your money?
That's what I'm saying. That's what got me fucked up. So I was making quick money in crypto and then going to a business. It's like a complete 180. And the problem with crypto is you can catch a pump and you don't learn anything. Like you're still the same person. Like taking a business from
How does it fuck you up mentally?
a lot, because like going from making 10, 15K
in
a
terms
day,
of society, for example, like you're unable to sustain a job after that because you're constantly itching for that kind of like hit of dopamine again.
It depends on the person. I mean, I was doing that's why I said I have to do the grueling work, like cold calling. Like after that, I went into cold calling. I'm like, I have to learn actual skills.
That's like the total opposite, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, I have to learn actual like real life skills, because like crypto, like I cash a pump, I have no skills. I have no idea. Like
But you don't think there's education in that? Like you could educate yourself.
bro, I'm saying, like if you're this like kids right now that are, have you seen like the new trend with the crypto coins
What do you mean?
on Twitter right now? There's on Solana, there's a trend to on meme coins, and the meme coins are racist meme coins. Bro, a token, then the name of the token was Nicolas Cage. Bro, the token, some guy put $100 and he made $250,000 on that token.
Oh my god!
And then a bunch of that, it went into a meme, a racist meme coin, like frenzy. There was a token called a slightly used slave from the 1980s. Something like that. Like, and now it's going into Jews, like into like Jew hate. Like it's like a whole thing. So it's like if you make $100 and turn into $250,000, what did you learn? Like that was just complete luck. And I'm saying that person and most people, like they're fucked for life, in my opinion, in terms of like work ethic, because now all you're gonna be doing the rest of your life is just chasing that next pump.
Yes, correct. I love how you said it, like even the people that have been on it for 20 years plus still end up in the same place. And it's like the market doesn't have mercy with anybody. It just goes. And the trajectory is that it goes up and down. Same way you can make a lot of money, you can also lose it all. And markets do crash, unfortunately.
But there hasn't been any, I guess, stock picker that has beat the S&P 500 over the past 30 years.
So what's the goal if you're an investor? If you're destined to fail just as much as you're destined to win?
I mean, that's the whole point. It's just you're trying to beat it. You're trying to beat the market.
But you don't play against already established percentages. You learn from the history of it and you choose from there.
This is why I think
that's the emotion part, I guess.
Emotion?
Yeah, you're feeling is the same way that greed comes along when you're in a trade. You also wanna make that quick money.
Are you talking about investors, or are you talking about like retail?
Investors.
You're saying like they lose to the market because they have greed?
No, they get in the market because they are greedy.
Okay, they get in the market because they are greedy.
Yes.
Okay. I don't. You think they get in the market? Are you talking about like institutions, like
No, just like day traders.
Oh, day traders.
Yeah.
So that's retail.
Okay, retail. Sorry.
Yeah. So like the retails are like common people, like us.
Okay.
And then investors are like just like smart money.
Okay.
So even smart money can't beat the market. So like and we like day traders think we can beat it. We can beat it. And this is why I don't like. I think people say AI, but AI can't beat the market either. Like you would think, like with like 40 years of data, AI you can build an AI to backtest every single chart in the S&P, and then you can predict stocks, but you can't.
What determines crypto to go up or down?
What determines?
Yeah, like what makes it go up or down?
Buyers and sellers.
So what's the fundamental behind it? Because in stocks, there's a company, whether it performs well or underperforms.
No, crypto is inherently a Ponzi scheme. Currently, the only things that have some kind of value, it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then some other like Ethereum like things, because there's a smart contract, so that's kind of useful in a way. But any token right now, like any meme coins, they're inherently Ponzi's. They just pump it and dump it. But you can make money in Ponzi's.
Of course, yeah.
Mm.
It's a big statement.
Yeah.
It feels like
no. I was when I was investing, I knew I was a Ponzi. But like people like what was the basic Ponzi? What's the name?
FTX.
That's a big one. But there was the guy on Netflix that had a documentary. He was he was like he ran like he was.
There's also the one in Canada.
Oh, they're also crypto?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the Ponzi in the real markets, not crypto. His name was, there was a whole documentary on Netflix about it, I forgot his name. But basically, he ran the biggest Ponzi. He had billions and billions of dollars. Basically, he would go to like rich golf clubs, like those clubs, and
Okay.
basically he was so he was actually a chairman of the Nasdaq. This guy.
Mm.
And at that time, it was a Ponzi that would guarantee 10% a year.
That's really good.
10% a year. So that beats the market by 3%.
Yeah.
So basically, and he was giving out 10% for, I think, like 20 years. But the thing is, like, he had billions and billions of dollars into an account. And then with the new investors, he would pay out the old investors.
That's Ponzi.
It's Ponzi.
Yeah.
But then in 2008, what happened? The market crashed. And then those assets were invested into underlying I think real estate. And then he had the Ponzi broke.
Yeah.
And then that guy, I think he lost, I think the biggest loss in any market history, like that's $17 billion.
Wow. Ponzi schemes are a great idea if the market's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, they work for a while until they don't.
Yeah.
I'm giving you ideas.
Nah, I've thought about it before. Maybe this is a Ponzi.
Dude, but right now on Twitter, what people are doing is like they're literally creating meme tokens, and then or like the NFTs. They're creating NFTs.
How do you feel about NFTs, by the way?
They're also Ponzi's, like the same thing.
But I feel like NFTs, for example, are different in the way that you are getting something that's unique.
Yeah, I mean, 1% are valid. Like 1% of the NFTs, like in everything, 1% are valid.
Yeah, but yes, I mean you gotta generalize things. But for example, you are obtaining a key, an access key to something. And that's something important for a lot of them.
I mean, they fix like ownership of something digital.
Exactly.
Like you can own something digital.
Yes, but it can also be used in the physical world. Like, for example, I've been to NFT at NYC and I've witnessed like ape holders. Yeah, exactly. Like ape holders show their apes and then be able to.
Yeah. When it comes to that, I mean, that's cool. The technology, the inherent technology is beautiful and it's useful. But like most projects are Ponzi's.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, yeah. Damn, bro, that was a lot of info. My brain grew.
Have you been following the crypto space or no?
No, I have not.
I mean, right now is a borrowing. I mean, everything that's going up.
I'm aware that everything is going up and like skyrocketing, and like Bitcoin went over 60K. I'm aware of all of that.
Yeah.
But I believe that you cannot manage too many things at once as a human being, and when you're really focused on one thing, you should just stick with that thing that you love, and that will help you thrive in that area. Because the more you try to balance everything, you're gonna end up fumbling all of them.
No, I agree. No, especially with this, you have to be really careful. You make one mistake, and your whole bag is gone.
I got equipment to buy, bro. I can't be losing money.
No, you can't. You can't be, bro. But yeah, this is it's a scary. I mean, right now, I mean, I see every day on Twitter like a 17-year-old, your ice made fucking $250,000, fucking investing in Nicholas coin, something like that, bro. And it was like, bro, there was a coin that went like 50x. It was like the fucking Juice 3911, something like that.
And what's teaching the youth? You know, what are kids listening to and hearing and seeing? All of these things. It's like, it's allowing first of all, racism to be accepted, to be normalized. Then it's also sort of like teaching kids that money comes easy and that you shouldn't really value it. just as easy as it comes, you can spend it. And that's not true.
I mean, yeah, bro. Like a lot of kids that are catching these pumps, they're gonna be
not only the ones that are catching the pumps, also what's being portrayed in news. You see though that in Twitter, a lot of kids are in Twitter nowadays.
Yeah.
And you see that in TikTok, for example, how it's the same thing. It's what's currency? Eyes are currencies. And with TikTok, for example, like getting an instant million followers or like a million views, it also gives them that instant gratification of like, oh, I could do that and I could be profitable through that media. But not everybody can do that, and not everybody can retain it for so long, because if you're not talented, you're going to lose all that wealth.
You're talking about building a following?
I'm talking about everything. It's the same concept, just different avenue.
Are you on TikTok? Like do you scroll out on TikTok?
I'm not on TikTok. I do have an account on TikTok. I'm never there. I'm only there whenever I post for the podcast.
Yeah, I had to delete that.
Thank God, bro. I was never on it, really.
What are your thoughts on them banning it? We're trying to ban it.
It's funny because whenever I am on TikTok, it's just a post. So I do have to like wait there for like a minute just for the thing to go up, and right there that's the only time I'm really scrolling on TikTok. And one time I posted and I went to the homepage to check if it had posted, and the first thing that came up was this guy saying that we should prevent the government from banning TikTok. And I'm like, okay, let's listen. You don't just reject something right away. Let's hear what this guy has to say. So I listened to him, and he said that we shouldn't ban it because TikTok allows freedom of speech. I'm like, okay, valid point. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm not really on it, so I can't really judge. Yep. But I've heard so that it does. He also said that it's used as educational purposes. It teaches you new skills and stuff like that, and it allows you to connect with more people and grow virality. I'm like, okay, true in all aspects from my perspective. However, let's start with the education one. Like, bro, it's a minute-long video, which out of all of it, it's all sped up. You cannot learn a skill and apply it with just 1 minute. You need to actually test it. And how many of those are you watching in a span of 30 minutes? You're watching about 50 of them.
But you know a scary stat? I think this is stats like 80% of 18 to 25-year-olds consume their news on TikTok.
Exactly. So I don't want to be rude, but it's reality. It's people that are not educated in certain areas and that are spreading information, which is just really their opinions. They hear all these things on media outlets that are already biased by whoever is financing them. And then they just expand it. They exaggerate the news. Right. And they create bigger conflicts.
I mean, so I'm going to give you, it's a double-edged sword. So I agree with that. But then the point that I want to give is like, now with TikTok, anybody can be a journalist.
Exactly.
So what I'm saying is like, you can record anything and then you can give your opinion on certain topics about anything. Right? Yes. So that's the good part, because I don't want, I guess, the government or like the centralized media, like New York Times, like legacy media, to have access to information, right?
I agreed.
So with TikTok and Twitter, right, we have a lot of more independent journalists.
What's the difference between TikTok and Twitter, though? In terms of the people that are on it,
they're both not good, because I'm on Twitter, and everything is also short. Like there's before there was a character limit on Twitter. I think it's 240, right? So you can't read much. On TikTok, but you read. Like at least you read. On TikTok, I can't speak much about it. I'm not on it. But what I know is TikTok. Well, the consensus on Twitter is that TikTok is now getting banned because of TikTok is the most critical platform of Israel. That's what the consensus on Twitter is on the Gaza plus Israel conflict. From what I've seen, that's the reason that the government wants to ban it, because it is the most critical platform by far of Israel. That's for me. I can't tell you for sure, but that's what the consensus is on Twitter of what the banning is. I have no idea. I haven't been on Twitter, but I mean on TikTok.
Hmm.
Because Free Palestine, I think it's the biggest hashtag on Twitter. I mean, no, on TikTok right now.
Hmm.
So it might be a political reason.
I think it is a political reason, but I think it's sort of like I mean, it is political if you think about it. Consumption, because if it's just so confusing, really. You said a lot, but what keeps the country moving? Consumption, right? People. This is a country that consumes everything. It's probably. I'm not sure if it's true. I've never looked at the statistics.
You're saying like consumerism.
Yeah, consumerism. That's what this country runs on.
Right.
This country does not create its own products. I'm sure 60% of them are imported from China, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Brazil. Even the fruits, bro. The fruits don't even come from here.
Yeah, my bananas are from Ecuador.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this country runs on consumption and on taxes. So if the youth is being raised by hating on the country pretty much and like not having patriotism for its own products, for its own people, then the country's is destined to fail. You don't love the place that you live in. So from that perspective, I think that's where it stems from. It's like you see all this hate, like America this, America that, but nobody's really passionate about the country.
Do you think that's Do you think that division and that hate for America, you think that's planned? Like you think there's somebody behind it, or do you think it's just a result of the way that we live now?
I think it's a result of human psychology.
Okay.
I think humans are consumers, and we're seekers of pleasure.
Yes.
And therefore, the more that we are fed, that we will take it. That's why addiction is a real thing.
Right.
You know, how many times a day, like hours are you on your phone? And so if there's no limiting restraints for what we can consume, then we'll just keep going. That's why America has the biggest percentage of obesity, because we just eat, and the food that we eat, we don't question it. There's so much trash food out there. How many people in America really exercise? Not many.
Not many.
What's the requirements in school for exercise, for gym classes? It's a joke. So we fall into that pleasure category. We think that we have it so good, but we don't work for it. And I don't think that it is a plant. I think it is just a result of it showcases how fragile the structure really is in this country compared to other countries that don't have the same issues.
I feel like that's the bad part of capitalism, because capitalism is all about maximizing profits.
Yes.
So when you maximize profits, you exploit people.
That's exactly what you're doing.
Right. So but you exploit people's attention, and then you exploit people's psychology, and then you exploit people's I guess pleasure-seeking activities, because if you need to, especially let's say run ads, right? You want to keep that person as much as possible on the platform so you can start the ads. That's the whole business model, right? Mm-hmm. So you need to design a platform that is addictive.
Yes.
And that is actually going to be detrimental to the person that you're giving the service for. So they disregard all human benefit for profit.
Yes.
But then you have the other side of the coin, which is communism. So we should not have a for-profit system. Mm-hmm. But then we've seen what happens when you go have a communist system.
Yes.
You have Venezuela, you have Cuba,
Korea, all these places.
So what's the answer?
You're asking me? My answer, I've thought about this, is, have you looked at France?
France,
yeah.
Oh, France.
Yeah, France.
Okay.
Over there, the current president, he's not either Democratic or Republican. He's sort of in the middle.
Macron?
Yeah. And I do like a type of governance of that type.
Sad way, his wife got exposed. His wife is a man.
Okay.
No, I mean, it just came out. It just came out like 2 days ago. Yeah,
The more you know. But I think in that sense, it's beneficial to the country to have a leader that.
But you think Macron's a good leader?
I don't follow him, but I do like the idea of having somebody that's balanced. I think in the long term, that's the right way to pursue it. And I also, I'm not a political, but I also believe that maybe it shouldn't be one leader. Maybe it should be like 3 leaders, because there's different personalities. Some people are more nurturing. Women are more nurturing. That's a fact. Some people are more offensive. They prefer conflict more. And there is a positive side to conflict. If you think about it, what is the most beneficial thing for an economy? A war. Whoever wins the war controls the economy in that area. So I think there should be different aspects to it. And I think the people should come together. A group of people, maybe 3 people, maybe 5 people, an odd number, that will come together, sort of like in the justice system, you know?
Yeah.
There's different lawyers, different juries, judges.
Justice, what judges, yeah.
Yeah, different judges that come together and put in their perspectives, their personalities, their wisdom of human values, and from there determine a decision whether somebody's guilty or not. And from there you take the action.
Are you a fan of like the 2-party system that we have here, like Democrat, Republican?
I don't really like it. And personally, I was going to vote for Vivek.
Yeah.
Because I believed he was democratic enough and Republican enough. He understood that capitalism could work if used correctly, but he was also not Republican enough to choose wars with other countries. Instead of he was democratic enough to take care of his own people rather than spend all of that energy in other affairs.
Ukraine, stuff like that.
Exactly. And I don't believe that that's proper. America tries to be the hero everywhere, but in reality, you're just taking away from it. It's just greed. That's my perspective. What do you think?
My perspective is that our current system needs war. So my point is that the money, the US dollar would inflate out of control if you don't launder it through war. So the reason that they need to get Trump out of office as soon as possible was because he didn't want to go to war. And then therefore they cannot launder the money, the billions and billions. They need to take out the money out of this system and then give it to another system where that money is now not here. So if you cut that money out of the supply, then therefore you can keep the currency somewhat stable, but it's artificial because now you're laundering that money. You get what I'm saying? So you need constant war to keep the current system afloat because the US dollar is not backed by anything. It's not backed by gold. And now what they did with Russia is very scary because they basically they took out Russia from the dollar. So Russia cannot transact in dollars.
Yes.
Therefore, those dollars are going to go back to the American system. So that basically now those dollars are going to inflate our current supply.
Yes, correct.
Not only that, now since Russia is transacting in other currencies like the yuan from China, other countries might transact in other currencies. So if you have the US dollar doesn't inflate because it's the Federal Reserve of the world. And now if you have other countries...
What set America as the Federal Reserve for the world? What was the determining factor for that?
Because all the countries it's because...
what was the period?
The period, I'm not sure, but I think
it was World War.
It was the World War?
Yeah. That's when America became the main currency traded around the world because America came in as the father figure and imposed all the rules for everybody.
World War II?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, but what I know is it's backed by oil. So like all oil transactions are made in the US dollar. So that's why the US dollar has value because everything is transacted in all the oil transactions are transacted in the US dollar. But now, if you have other countries transacting in different currencies, oil, then we're gonna, I guess, the inflation is gonna go crazy because because all the supply of dollars that was previously used to transact in oil are gonna go back into the American system, therefore making everything more expensive, and then we might have a Venezuela situation.
You know, Venezuela is very interesting because it's a very rich country.
Yeah.
They have oil.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of nature. So much.
Yeah.
They have fruits. They got nature. They got it all, really.
Yeah.
They don't need anything. They don't need anybody to sustain them. But it shows how a bad
leader.
Yeah. It can break any wealth you have.
I'm not too sure what happened, but I think he made a bad trade. I think there was one specific instance where like the oil price went negative, and then since their only value is oil, I think he made a bad trade on that specific time that made their currency go crazy. So that's coming to America if we keep Russia is one of the biggest economies in the
yes. And did you see, like, when they imposed all the tariffs and stuff, like, they took away the trading ability for Russia, they didn't really take a hit.
They didn't. I mean, they're super self. I mean, right now, they're even better, right?
Yeah.
They're even better because they don't rely on us anymore.
Exactly.
So if they're an enemy and now they have self-sustainability, they have no leverage because they can just self-sustain.
Yeah.
So that was a bad move from the Biden administration.
Yes, correct. I agree with that. It's crazy how all these things but you don't hear them talking about it. I know I have an idea of where you got that information from. And it's not really TV news that you hear that from.
No. You're not listening to this. You're not hearing this in the mainstream media.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And it shows the control. And I'm not on TikTok. Damn, I wish there was somebody here who could like fact check this.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they talk about these things on TikTok.
I heard that they do. Like they heard. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not for banning, because prior to this, because they say do you know the reason for banning?
No. Well, you told me that it was because
Well, no. The reason that they say they want to ban it in Congress is because it's a Chinese app. So
yeah, I heard that. Yes, and yeah, I saw that.
So basically, they believe if you have a Chinese app in the U.S., then the China Communist Party is intermingled with business. So if a business has any records and the Chinese government wants it, like they can just take it. That's the way it works in China. And here you have to go to due process, and it has to be like a lot of discovery. In China, the government and business is intermingled. So in the Congress, they believe that TikTok is spying on us. Where basically, TikTok is installed in almost every single American. Most Americans have like TikTok, and they can spy on your conversations. They can spy on your emails. They can spy on everything. And they're saying that members of Congress have been compromised through TikTok. So that's what they're saying by the Chinese Communist Party. And
that is true, because when you download TikTok for the first time and you read the things, it does allow that.
But the thing is that it's not, because right now TikTok is not owned by China. It's owned by Singapore. So TikTok has tried everything, and actually their servers are built in the U.S. now. So all the company servers are now in the U.S. So basically they spent $10 billion trying to build everything from Singapore to the U.S., and they still want to ban it. But they only want to really ban it since the conflict with Israel and Palestine where it started going on.
How do you feel about China having a different version of TikTok?
That's what's interesting, because China is communist, correct?
Yes.
But their economy is also, it functions, it works.
Does it on the long term?
I mean, they're set to beat us in GDP in the next 5 years.
Yes, but look at it in 30 years.
But what do we decide? Like, what are the metrics for working? Like, what are the metrics?
The metrics would be population and the age of the people. Can they really sustain themselves? You know, China had a really big problem, not a couple of years, but years ago, where they were having too many kids. So
Yep.
they had to restrain it. And nowadays, they don't have that many kids in China. And the people that are mostly alive are over 60 years old. They're meant to die in, 30 years tops?
Bro, in that time, like a cool story is that there were so like in China, most if you only have one kid, most couples they want to have a boy because they can work and they can
Yes.
contribute more, right? So in that time, most of the people being born were guys, and there were no females being born. So right now, there's like a huge epidemic of single guys in China because there's no females. There's 10 guys for one female. So imagine.
How can you control that?
Because
do you
everybody
think the mind has something with that?
What do you mean?
Do you think because it's random?
No, because if they would
They would
say
just murder it?
yeah, they would just abort it.
Wow.
If it was a female, they would abort it. So like now there's like a huge epidemic of single guys because there's no females. So you have to be a really good looking guy. And the problem is they look the same.
Whoa! You've been looking at too many meme coins.
Yeah, so basically, yeah.
Do you think it's safe, self-sustaining for them though? Do you think that will pay off for them?
Because look, the way that I was looking at it, crime stats are like the lowest in China. So basically, they have a working economy. There's no crime. Most people seem to be employed. They have a low unemployment rate, but they have what you would call a social credit system. Do you know what that is?
I've heard of it. Tell me more about it.
Social credit system, basically.
Oh,
If you-
I think I do know what it is actually. It's when, depending on how good of a citizen you are,
Yes.
they give you access
Give you a
to
score.
Exactly. It's like
So-
social. It's like a credit score, but in terms
For
of
social, like, yeah. So
Yeah.
let's say even if you don't recycle, like your shit might go down. If you fucking jaywalk, your shit might go down. If you say something bad about the current leadership, your shit might go down.
not only that, you'll be in jail.
And not only that, if your shit goes down, like you get taken away so many benefits. Like you cannot buy a train ticket.
Yes, and that's what happens when WeChat comes along.
Yeah, WeChat is like the everything app.
Exactly. It's controlled by the government, and that's where that interconnection comes in. They have banking, social media, everything, literally everything and anything.
That's what I think Elon Musk gonna do with Twitter.
That's exactly what he wants to do with Twitter. That's what X was initially supposed to be. It was a banking system.
That's what I think. Yeah, that's gonna do. I think Elon Musk or Donald Trump might be the Antichrist.
That's such a great topic because I've thought about this.
I think.
Okay. Hold on. Let's finish the China topic and then we go
Yeah.
into that one.
Yeah.
Oh man, not many people know about that, bro. And
Yeah.
have you?
I mean,
Yeah.
I've looked.
Wait.
Okay, so give me your thoughts about it.
No. First, let's finish the China thing.
So the social credit system.
Yes.
So basically, everything.
I'll write that down before I forget that.
No, I'll go into it.
Okay, you will remember. Okay.
Yeah.
If he forgets, he is on the chat.
Yeah. So basically, the social credit system, everything you do that might be deemed like a lower quality citizen, is deemed against you. So you can't get any loans. You can't get a car. You can't get a train ticket. You can't buy a plane ticket. So you have to be a really good boy, a really good soldier, a really good citizen in China. But it seems to be working. And that's what I'm saying. Like what they're doing there is coming here.
Does it seem to be working?
In terms of like metrics of GDP, economic growth, and crime, that's what I'm looking at.
But have you looked at like the ghost cities that they have in China?
Yeah, there's a lot of unoccupied cities. But I'm saying to make a system work for that many people, how many people they have like 2 billion, right?
Yeah, but it's restraining. It's inhumane.
People when I look at videos of people in China, like they seem happy, but they're stressed.
I know somebody. He's a musician. He is from China, and he's unable to go back to his country because he has an influence.
He has an influence.
Yes.
What do you mean?
he cannot go to China because he has an influence. Therefore, the youth will see his influence, and therefore they will learn from him
Oh yeah.
because he has American ways. So he does. They don't want him to sort of like be a virus for the country.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, China, like in their media and what they promote like healthy things. Like they promote mathematics, engineering. Like their TikTok, you can't have, twerking. You can't have like, things that maybe seemed like what's the word I'm looking for? But you can have like what we have here. It's just complete freedom, and it's all like the worst qualities of humans just like get together and then, but like they have a restriction. Also, you can't play video games past 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the government setting those limits.
Yeah, but do you believe that?
But I'm saying that's a bad thing.
That is a bad thing.
But it seems to be working.
It works exactly.
Yeah.
Is there other ways to implement that though?
Like implemented that here?
What happens in America, right?
Yeah.
I recently watched this video of maybe you watched it. I reposted it on my story. It's 60 minutes or was it 90 minutes? I don't even know. The news thing. And they were talking to the president of Mexico, and they're talking about the fentanyl addiction and the production of it. Yep. And so they ask him, they're like, "Oh, how do you feel about fentanyl?"
It comes from
produced?
China,
So I'll get there.
Yeah.
So they ask him, "How do you feel about fentanyl being made and being brought over from Mexico?" And he's like, "Well, first of all, the fentanyl is not only made in Mexico, it is made in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico." And then he goes on and says, and the substance comes from China. Therefore, the initial thing is not even made in Mexico. It's actually coming overseas from China. And then he says, well, and then he says that, and then they're like, "Oh, but how do you feel about the consumption of it in Mexico?" And then he's like, there is none in Mexico. The consumption is in America.
Wow.
And then he explains that there wouldn't be a problem in Mexico selling to America if there was no consumer. Because if there is no consumer, there is no market.
Right.
And so therefore he explains that the difference between Mexico and America, the reason why America has so many deaths and so many of these crazy statistics is because America doesn't have a nucleus in the family.
Oh.
And he explains that in Mexico, they have culture, and they instill those values from a young age to their children. They pray a lot. They go to church. They are really close with their family. They have strong families. And that's the difference. Yes, you see these cartels. Yes, you see all of this. You hear all these crazy things. But none of that would exist if there was nobody begging for those products.
So you think there's a deliberate, something deliberate that wants to split families?
I think the pleasure ends up splitting families.
The pleasure of
not having any restrictions. And that's what we see in America.
Or it
overconsumption.
It could be the lack of God and the lack of religion and the lack of culture.
Exactly, but that's where pleasure comes in. Because when you indulge in pleasure, what's one of in the Bible it says, gluttony. That's a sin. You shouldn't overeat. You shouldn't overconsume.
Right.
So when you're doing these things, you're pretty much taking harm to your nucleus. And therefore, what can you teach other people if you're over-consuming from something that's bad? You're only going to spread that virus to everybody. And I do see what you mean with China being more successful. Yes. But that is an enforced rule by the government. I believe people should find that within themselves and spread it to your children.
Well, China has a strong family unit.
Yes, but there will be no family in the coming years for them.
There will be no family unit in the future?
They will have less,
Well, China is frowned upon to divorce in China. So I think America has lost their shame, right? So like I saw a video of an American woman that went to Japan, and she wore leggings like a normal person here, and the people there shamed her because that's not allowed in their culture. They wear boxy. They don't show any. There's no revealing things in the gym. So she wore a regular legging. It's very revealing compared to them. And then the shame of the people looking at her made her change. So in here, we don't have that shame. So if people who cheat or people who indulge is actually encouraged in this culture. Like,
why is it encouraged?
I think it's
And from who is it encouraged?
I think it comes from the top down. Like, I think things that are happening right now are not an accident. Like,
what do you mean from the top down?
so let's say you want to, like, a society will crumble if you split the family, right?
Yes.
So now, if I want to split the family, like, what would I do? So I incentivize you to split.
Yes, you start from the nucleus.
So how do I incentivize you to split? So if you're a single mom, I'm going to give you food stamps. If you're a single mom, I'm going to give you Social Security. What's the other one? Welfare.
Yes.
So now people are incentivized to be single because you don't get the food stamps and you don't get the welfare if you are married or if you have a husband. So now if you give money to people to be single and therefore destroy their family, I think that comes down from the top down. That's the way it works. You get welfare and you get food stamps if you're a single mom. So you're incentivizing the breaking of the nucleus.
Yes.
And they know that, and then they know that's gonna destroy society because I don't know who is like in behind it, but there's somebody that wants to impose or destroy civilization here.
That's internal though.
Internal?
Within America.
Within America.
Yeah, like that's not a TikTok thing. It's not coming from the outside of America. That's within America.
It's based on who makes decisions. Like, who
exactly.
makes decisions.
And that's within the country.
Yeah.
So I think that happens because of the consumption thing again. A capitalist society requires consumption for it to function. You see where that goes?
A capitalist society requires consumption.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you're giving that money, you're expecting that person to indulge even more. You're kind of like enforcing that addiction. You're telling them it's okay, keep it going, it's fine. We'll give you more and more.
Well, like if you get divorced and then you get some monetary gain for getting divorced, why wouldn't like divorce rates go up?
Why is there a problem with squatters going on in New York?
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy.
See, they're being incentivized.
How is that allowed? Like, you can just squat.
It's crazy.
You can just. I think I saw the video of somebody getting arrested for trying to kick out a squatter. What's happening?
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. It's like they're allowing it. It's like.
But not even that, also crime. Like any
yeah.
In Los Angeles, San Francisco, all these countries. All these states, they let people go and they have like 11 crimes. Like, they have been to jail 11 times for, I guess, for like it now became like a misdemeanor if you steal something that's less than $1,000, something like that, and they keep doing it. They're incentivizing crime. If you go to El Salvador, do you see that?
Yeah, of course. I'm a big fan of Bukele.
Yeah, like El Salvador, I think now, like, I mean, like, it's like one of like the best countries in South America. Like to like yeah,
it's one of the safest in the world, really.
I mean, right now because of how strict they are on crime. If you want to fix crime, it's so easy, but I think they want to incentivize it. Like, why?
And did you see what they recently started to do?
What?
So they moved on to the second part of the project, right? The first was to pretty much clean out the streets. El Salvador was not a very safe city. They were filled with
one of the worst.
Exactly, if not the worst. They had murders every day, and so now they put everybody that was in that group, or that seemed to be in that group at least, and that's where the iffy part comes in. But let's see what's the second part. And so now they're trying to get people back into society. It's not only about keeping them in jail, but about teaching them how to be part of society. Because then in China, for example, you're just putting an X on everybody that's not good. You're just preventing them from being good. But if you teach them how to be good, then that's how you keep the country strong. And that's the difference. That's why I think El Salvador is doing something really unique, because they're actually investing in their communities. The people that were in jail, they recently started teaching them how to be how to build roads, how to be in construction, how to be in food, how to learn, like lawyers, all of these things, crafts that it's needed in life to sustain yourself.
Yeah. This is the problem when it comes to, I guess, fixing a problem within a society. Let's say the homeless problem, right?
Okay.
You know what happened when they try to fix it? The people that were in charge of fixing the problem of homelessness, their main source of income is the homeless problem. So if you have a problem, and then if you fix the problem, then you have no more income.
Mm-hmm.
So the people in charge of fixing our problems don't want to fix our problems because then they'll be unemployed.
Yeah.
So if you have this amount of money to fix the homeless problem, they probably will make it worse.
Yeah.
So they can continue getting paid to fix it.
Yeah. That's great.
But that's what I'm saying. Like you can't. It's so corrupt to the core.
Yeah. I've been listening to the book of Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson. I don't know if you
or like the biography.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's this part where Musk is like extremely upset over Bill Gates.
Okay.
And he explains that it's because Bill Gates tried to convince Elon Musk to donate money to his philanthropic causes and stuff, like he gave him like options on where to invest. And then Musk was like, okay, I'll think about it, I'll sleep on it. And then like a week later you see Bill Gates shorting a Tesla stock.
Oh yeah.
And then Musk is like, this person is the devil himself, like he's so corrupt because you're telling me about all of these good causes, but you're shorting the company that's doing the most for the planet. How hypocritical is that?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what goes on in the government. You know, you try to impose all these rules that would help, but you're profiting off of the negatives. And isn't that what the big pharma is?
I mean, the problem is that we don't have term limits, like because the people who make the decisions are not the president.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have a president, he's just a temporary employee.
Exactly.
Who make the decisions are the Senate, and they are there for how many years?
Yeah.
40, 30, 20.
Yeah.
And like, why don't we have term limits? Because if we have term limits, then those people will have to be civilians after, right? So they will have to leave government for them, right? But then, since I don't have any term limits, I'm just gonna build more government. I'm gonna build more. Like if I'm an official, and then, or like even if I'm a leader of a company, my job is to create more divisions of the company, like to get more profits and to build more parts of the company.
Yes.
So if you're in charge of the government, you don't want to leave the government. You want to build more divisions, more budgets, more money for me.
Yeah.
But you don't care about the civilians. But now, if we implement term limits, then those people will think, holy shit, I'm going to be a civilian soon.
This is going to affect me.
So it's going to affect me. So whatever decision I'm making here. But since they don't give a fuck. They're just going to build more government.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
They're going to build more control, more government, more ways to control the people. That's it. They don't really care about building for us because they're just so ingrained in the system. They want more for them. Just like any company.
Yeah. Look at Nancy Pelosi.
The best stock trader
of all time.
Crazy.
I saw this thing where they made this AI that trades along with Nancy's.
Yeah. I mean, how corrupt is that? Like, it's so obvious. It's so obvious how they're just... How do you become a politician making 80 to 120K a year, and then you come out as like a multi-millionaire, like a 40, 50, $100 million? Like, how corrupt is it? And why is it illegal to have, what's it called? What's the word? When you can give money?
Insider. Oh.
No, it's fuck. What's the word when you can give money to incentive?
Donations?
Yeah, but it's not donation. Or it's like a corporation can donate to basically incentivize legislation.
Yeah. I know. FTX did it with the president.
Right. So if you want to FTX and then you want a better crypto rules, you basically have to buy out the politicians, and that's allowed.
What's that called?
It's called fuck.
You're backing up this endorsing, no?
I'm not endorsing. It's a specific word. It's just left my mind.
I know exactly what you're talking about, though.
But like, how is it allowed that if you're a pharma company, you can just buy out a politician to pass rules that are in favor of your company? Yeah. And that could be for anything. Like right now, like Israel like owns most of the Israel owns, I think, like 80% of the Senate. So like, if Israel owns 80% of the Senate and they're backed by Israel money, like who are they really gonna pass laws for? Mm-hmm. They're gonna pass laws for America or for Israel?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, bro, those same people are the ones that control the media.
Yeah, Israel controls the media.
Exactly.
Yeah. They control.
That's the beautiful thing about having TikTok. That's the good thing about having TikTok.
That's
it
why
gives a power to the people.
That's why TikTok and Twitter are the only two left, the two frontiers
yes.
that are free. Because anything that you say anti-Semitic on Facebook or Instagram,
I mean, it's owned by the same people. To Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah. What I'm saying, like anything you say there is gonna be banned if they deem it to be anti-Semitic.
Yeah, even YouTube.
YouTube. Yep. So yeah, I mean, conservative media and liberal media, they're owned by the same people. So
what's the right way to approach the government? If you could do it, how would you rebuild it? How would you restructure it?
This is a book where basically it instructs, like it basically, it's a book, like it illustrates how I could have a really good like idea and how it could be structured, like no corruption, right? Things like that. It basically it illustrates by having a farm. Like there's some pigs and then there's the humans, and the humans like, yo, this is so corrupt. We want to like have a revolution, and we're gonna take over and everything's gonna be great.
Is it Animal Farm?
Animal Farm.
By
forget the name.
But that book is supposed to give an example of the Russian government.
Yeah.
By Stalin, I believe.
Yeah, of communism.
Yeah.
So basically, they have a novel idea, same thing like Fidel, just to give back to the people, but then they get the power, and then they become corrupt, even though they begin with a novel idea. Like if I begin with a novel idea, and then I go into government, and I want to do right, I want to make it right, and then somebody tells me, yo, just do this little thing, you're gonna get $250,000. Like most people fall. Most people drop. Most people fall onto like the easy money.
So do you think there is a way to have a perfect government? On human power.
So look, do you think the people at top want to reduce the population?
In America?
Because for me, the way a system works is to reduce the population. That's the only way. And I think they know that.
I don't.
Because systems work perfectly when it's low population, like Denmark, Switzerland, things like that. They work perfectly with their low population. When you expand in population, that's when problems come. So the people at top definitely want to reduce population. This is why the birth rate is the lowest it's been ever. People like me and you, like we're so infertile compared to our ancestors, and I think that's done purposely. I don't think basically everybody that I know has some issue with fertility. Could it be the vaccine? Could it be the water? It's definitely something. But I think they know that an utopia, a perfect system, only works with a low population. It doesn't work with billions of people.
I could see that.
And if I'm thinking that, they're fucking thinking that. So, and if they have power, they're definitely putting things into place.
Do you think that's where China's influence through TikTok comes in?
China's influence through TikTok?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, you look at kids nowadays and they're not thinking about this sort of stuff. I have a brother, he's 19 years old. He's on TikTok every day, several hours a day.
Yeah.
And I've seen what he looks at. And it's not this.
What is it? What is it? It's just like
Memes. I have a cousin. I also know what she looks at. I have an older brother.
Yeah.
28, 27. I've also seen his feed.
Yeah.
Memes.
Well,
I look at people in high school nowadays. They're graduating. What are their feeds? What are they being fed?
yeah, I mean, if you look at the people that are in control, like they're like Davos, like those people that have the economic forum, what's it called?
Okay, yeah.
Well, the guy that predicts future events, I think his name is Yuval Navari, something like that. I think he wrote *Sapiens*.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he wrote he had a talk where basically he says the next step is gonna be to integrate man with machine. It's gonna be the next step. So basically they're gonna, what's the word, transhumanism?
Okay.
That's the next step. But most of the people are gonna be useless eaters. So we need to entertain them with porn, internet, and video games.
Yeah, that's what The Art of War says. If you want to destroy a country, a nation, you start with that.
Yeah.
You give them all the pleasures in life and then just let them crumble themselves.
Same thing with the Roman Empire. So
Exactly.
they had to build the Colosseum to entertain the masses and not let it know what's going on.
Yeah. Strong men create strong empires. Strong empires celebrate, I believe, and then celebration leads to laziness, something like that.
Well, strong men make great times. Great
Yes,
times
exactly.
make weak men. Weak men create strong times. Create hard times.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And the cycle continues. So I believe it's just human psychology. That's where God comes in.
Yes.
If you try to hold everything with your human power, with your human will, you will fail.
Okay. Before we go into God, let's talk about the.
Yes.
Let's talk about the Elon Musk and Donald Trump Antichrist. And I think that's the purpose of Subway. Segue into God.
Okay. Define the Antichrist. Yo, can you turn? Because the camera is like there and you're like looking that way.
I'm not looking. Oh.
I just realized.
So basically, the Antichrist is somebody that brings peace. Well,
hypothetically.
Well, basically,
allegedly.
In the Bible it says somebody that is gonna be everything. The world's gonna be in flames.
Let me look up the Bible definition.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
From what I know, is
ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's somebody that's gonna bring peace and it's gonna unite the world, in a way.
Yes, I have a similar definition. Pretty much says
Yeah.
it. Bible definition. Okay, so this is what ChatGPT says.
Yeah.
The term Antichrist is primarily derived from the New Testament of the Bible, specifically from the epistles of John in Christian, theology, Antichrist. Okay. The Antichrist is often understood as a figure who opposes Christ and works against his teachings.
Mm-hmm.
The concept of the Antichrist is elaborated upon in 1 John 2:18, 22, 4:3, and 2 John 1:7. These passages generally describe the Antichrist as someone who denies the Father and the Son and who seeks to deceive people away from the truth of Jesus Christ. However, it's important to note that the interpretations of the Antichrist can vary among different Christian denominations and theological perspectives. I think the key word there is deceive.
But I think you want to ask, what are the characteristics of the Antichrist?
Okay. And this is why ChatGPT is a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
It says, the characteristics or traits associated with the Antichrist are primarily derived from biblical texts, particularly... Okay, we already read that. Denial of Jesus as the Christ. Mm-hmm. The Antichrist is said to deny both the Father and the Son, rejecting the divinity and messiahship of Jesus Christ. Deceptive nature. The Antichrist is often described as a deceiver who leads people astray with false teachings and signs.
Mm-hmm.
Opposition to God's truth. The Antichrist is believed to work against the teachings and principles of God, promoting falsehood and leading people away from the path of righteousness. Mm-hmm. Persecution of Christians. Some interpretations suggest that the Antichrist will actively persecute and oppose followers of Jesus Christ during the end times, claiming divinity or authority. I think that's the key one. Sorry. The Antichrist may assert divine or supreme authority, attempting to usurp the place of God or Christ. Miraculous signs and wonders. The Antichrist is often associated with performing signs, wonders, and miracles to deceive people.
Yep.
That's another key one. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. It doesn't mention anything about peace or like return in the world. Because I'm pretty sure that's very key.
That is very key.
Yeah.
And the Bible does mention that, though.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. It mentions that a human will come along and will preach peace, and it will unite the nations, but it will deny them portraying himself as the supreme leader for it. So it will unite everybody, but it will be all under his divinity. And therefore, people will start to praise him the same way that the Israelites did when they started praising the golden statue of the cow. And they will start doing that, but towards the person.
The Jews still believe the Messiah is not Jesus, right? They believe the Messiah is still coming.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what the Antichrist is.
Okay. So what I think what is possible, do you know like the conspiracy of like the one world government, like the one I make it just, I think that could be another solution to what we're talking about.
Okay, explain the one world government, just in case people don't know.
Yeah, so basically the one is basically to have the same laws and the same currency and the same military for the whole government. So every single jurisdiction, Brazil, China, Russia, to be beholden to the same currency, beholden to the same military, and to the same rules. Obviously, there's a lot of backlash. Well, people don't want that, but that seems like a authoritarian. Like you have no freedom at all. But when we're speaking to how do you fix a society, how do you make it function, I feel like that could be one of the solutions I started thinking of, to have a one world. Because if you are an elite and then you have trillions of assets and then all you want is control, but you want to control the whole world, it's very difficult to control the world when there's so many different laws and jurisdictions. So if you want to control the world and then you have one currency, the same jurisdiction and everything that applies to the same world, I think that would be their way to, I guess, control the world. But let's say Donald Trump comes in, or Elon Musk, or whoever it might be, and the world is in chaos. You know, it's World War III. We're in the brink of a nuclear war. And then this person comes in and then he fixes everything.
Yes.
People are going to be looking to that guy like he's like a savior. He's God. And I feel like they might forget Jesus. They might forget God and might worship a person instead of that actual actual Jesus or their actual savior. So I think Trump fits that nicely. Elon Musk might also fit that nicely because I do find myself looking at these people like sort of like savior figures. Like we're right now we're in a part of the world where we have endless wars going on in the Middle East and Israel, and then we have an open border. We have crime going up the roof. They're letting out illegals come in like it's nothing, and I think that's by design. They want to create a problem to usher in a savior, to ushering that figure that's going to be the Antichrist and ushering that one world government that they've been planning off. Because they've been speaking about this one world government since, I think, the 60s, 70s. It's not a new thing.
Do you think it will happen within our times?
Perhaps. And I feel like they're going to do it with probably aliens. So if you want to unite the world, there needs to be a threat.
Something that unites humanity as a whole.
Yeah, there needs to be a threat.
For humanity.
So if we have a threat coming from outer space that wants to kill us, like we actually have to unite. Like we actually have to, like, I think that the whole world will be in the same page. Like, we have to defend ourselves from this alien threat. And this is why we see so much alien. Right now, there's a new Netflix show about aliens. It just came out. I think the 3-body problem. You seen it?
So you think no? I don't really watch anything other than podcasts
yeah.
and books.
Yeah, but basically the whole premise is like there's an alien race that they live in a 3-body solar system. So like the thing is like they can coexist there. So basically somebody sent a SOS message, well, a signal to the sun, and they read it, and now they're coming to basically dominate Earth because they cannot coexist over there. And basically now they saying they're gonna kill all our scientists because by the time they get here, we're gonna be more advanced than them. So then we'll probably kill them. But now they're gonna send something to basically kill or manage the science that's gonna be made here, so they can come here and basically take our planet. But that's the whole premise. But I think they're already putting that programming in that could happen.
Do you think the ends of the world are near?
So
or do you believe how it is described in the Bible?
Do you remember in 2012 when they thought that the world was gonna end?
Yes.
Because like the Mayan calendar.
Yeah,
But there's an interesting text. Are you familiar with like channel text?
Is that with the Sumerians or?
No, channel text is like like somebody goes into like deep trance, like meditation, and then something comes in and speaks to them.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah.
So there's a text that I really like called the Law of One, and he says that in 2012 the world had a choice to either recycle, like they're gonna go into a different cycle, or go into the next stage. So basically, the way that they explain it was in 2012, like even the Bible talks about this. It's called the harvest. So the harvest of souls that are primed to go to the next stage. So in 2012, there was 51%. I guess like the polarity was 51% positive. So if the polarity on 2012 would have been 49%, the world would have ended. But since it was 51%, it's gonna go into the next stage. So in 2012, they had two choices. So I think the world's gonna go into a good stage. It's not gonna end. So the what's gonna happen was if it was gonna happen, it would have happened shortly after 2012. That's what he said.
I'm not familiar with that, but that's interesting. I'm familiar with what the Bible says, though.
Yeah.
And it says that when the ends of the world will come along, when good becomes bad, when people kind of succumb to pleasure in a way. And yeah, but good becomes bad. That's really the key word. And I think it could be worse. I don't think we're that bad. I think there's still hope in the world. And I think humans still have good within them. That's from what I see. Maybe I'm too positive, but from what I see, I still believe that there is good in the world. I think people are still trying. Even
do you think the next step is well, I think that the next step is, I guess, some kind of spiritual awakening, right?
I think there will be a spiritual awakening, but I think that the end of the world will not happen within our lifetime.
Do you think the spiritual awakening is only found through Christ?
No. I don't like putting titles. I don't believe that Christianity is the only religion. I don't support that. Even though I go to a Christian church and I've been going to it for the past 10 years consistently or more, but honestly, probably more. I believe in the teachings of the Bible, and I believe in the teachings of God. And I am a firm believer that that is the right way to perceive life. That's why the Bible is the book of life. Because if you learn from the values and the morals from it, you will be successful, guaranteed. However, I think that there is a sort of separation between religions, and I think that's where conflicts arrive. But I think all of the religions sort of speak of the same things in a way. And there will be an end of the world, and I think people will have to come together and sort of give up all of their wealth, whether it be religious wealth, whether it be monetary wealth, whether it be just like land wealth, all these things. They're going to have to come together and unite. Technology, is the same thing with the aliens. There has to be something that brings them together. But until then, it will just be fights between one another because humans want control. They crave the greed. And if you think about it, Russia and China, if you're Chinese and you're Russian, you actually don't like America because you're trying to support your government, you're trying to help your family, and there is love to that. You know, you are coming from a good perspective. You're in their shoes. It's understandable.
Right.
And same thing for us. So I think there needs to be something that unites us. And I think that's when the end of the world would start. But until then, I don't think so. I think we're good. It could be much better, of course. But there was also a world war twice already. And that was bad.
Yeah.
There was also mass genocides all over the world.
That's what I'm saying. Like when they speak of the end of times, how do we know we're not behind them? Like what I'm saying, like how do we know it hasn't passed yet? Because there have been so many atrocities in our lifetime. Not only that, like I think China or like I think the name of the guy was like Pol Pot. He killed like 50 million Chinese to further the cause of communism. So how could you not think that's the end of the world at that time? And also in World War II, and then in the Russia, I think Russia had a war as well with the Bolsheviks, that there was like 20 million Russians murdered. So how do we know that the end times are not past us, and that we come into enlightenment age? But the thing is, we can't sustain it with the current system. We need war to launder the money. So the problem is nuclear war might be the end if it gets too far.
I agree.
Nuclear war might be the end if it gets too far. I don't think it's climate change.
I don't, even though I'm very pro climate and environment, I think the climate just goes in cycles.
Yeah.
And I think
I think the science is not very good on climate change.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Because you can say if you look at the data, 10,000 years, there's gonna be periods where the climate is very hot.
Yeah.
But then it comes down.
Yeah.
So right now we could be in a period that the climate is very hot, but we don't know why.
Even when you track back fossil fuels, like you time them, it's not even accurate.
Yeah, it's not.
So how can you?
How can you actually predict what's happening or why it's getting hot?
Yeah.
So like for me, it's the science is very iffy, and the problem that I have, it's we're taking away cheap energy. So cheap energy is fossil fuels, especially for poor people. Poor people cannot afford renewable energy, or they cannot afford wind turbines or solar energy in like rural areas in Africa. So we're taking away their access to cheap energy, therefore making their situation worse to further. It's the same thing with communism. So we're gonna murder these 50 million people now, because in the future it's gonna be better. But right now we're saying we're not gonna give you energy. We're gonna take it away because it's for the good of the future. So and that's with bad science.
Yes.
So it's I don't know.
That's a really interesting concept. So what happens with those people? Do they have a way to stand up for themselves?
That's what
or
I'm
do you
saying.
think the Antichrist will come in and unite that?
I don't know. It's a very tough question, but I wanted to ask you, just because I have no answer to that question. I don't know if the Antichrist is gonna be during our lifetime, or if he already happened. Because we could say Obama was the Antichrist. I don't know. Who knows?
It depends on who you're asking. Maybe for the Germans during World War, Hitler
might have been the Antichrist.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to say. But I
love the cycles thing.
The cycles?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Cycles?
The thing that you said about the one.
The one?
Yeah.
The law of one?
Yeah.
Because in the Bible it mentions also the harvest of the souls. And then it's like that on 2012 was when the cycle was, the harvest was. So if the earth had enough harvest souls to move to the next stage, then the earth will stay. If not, it will be deemed a failed experiment, and then it had to reset. So that's why, in the Bible, you see so many catastrophes, because they had to reset, because it wasn't good enough. That's what the book says. Like catastrophe come when the souls are not primed to be harvested.
Mm.
So they have to reset so the souls are prime. So and then when they're primed, then the civilization is allowed to continue.
I know you had a question, but
Yeah.
I want to ask you something else before I forget.
Yeah.
The Anunnaki,
Mm.
is that related to that?
The Anunnaki are not in that book at all. I mean, like the whole book, like they know Ra from the Egypt.
Okay.
Apparently, Ra was the one speaking there, or like that symbol.
Mm.
Like he gave like you know how the Egyptians were like the most advanced people
Yeah.
on Earth on that time. Apparently, it's the same people that gave that technology, but writing that book.
Mm.
And that book is so complex that I think is real, because basically, if you read that book, like you have a master's of metaphysics. Like they go so deep into like dimensions, and they don't call it dimensions, they call it densities. They say there are 7 densities of consciousness, and the first one is like a rock, like water, like fire. The second one are like animals. The third one is us. The fourth one is like love. Like you're still an entity, but you're made of love, and then you have to understand what love is.
Sort of transcend.
Right. And then the fifth one is wisdom, and the sixth one is where they're at. So they say like they're like your higher self. They're saying like they look through all the dimensions, but then my job to transcend to the seventh one is to give my third dimensional self advice, and that's what they were doing with that book. So like and the way they call it, like they're a social memory complex, where basically they unite with other consciousnesses, and it's fucking next level shit.
Isn't that what ChatGPT is?
Yeah, basically, they unite with all the consciousnesses. So they're basically like a 6, like they know all the answers. So say like in the beginning, it was basically they say like everything is one. That's the whole message. Everything is one. Me and you are one. There's just an illusion of separateness, and then everything that's happening right now is just a thought in God's mind.
And isn't that what every book teaches?
Yeah, it's basically it's just they want to teach us the law of one, like that we're all the same person, they're all the same thing, and there's nothing but love. And the separation that happens causes fear. He says like there's only two emotions in the human experience: love and fear. Every other subset of emotion, like that's negative, like jealousy, anger, could be anything that's negative. It's just something about that based on fear. Love and peace are when you're enlightened. That's the actual reality of who you are. It's just love and peace. But then you are, I guess, cut off from that source because you have not forgiven. You have not forgiven. Like you have not. Well, basically, love and peace only live in the present moment, right? And then for you to be present, you have to kill your ego, because the ego only lives in time. So if you are in time, then you're cut away from God, because God is only here in the present. But then for you to be present, you have to kill who you are. You have to kill Juan. You have to kill. That's why you only experience ego death, or that experience of the only one, when you do psychedelics or when you do meditations for 20 years, or for when you do ayahuasca, and then the ego dies. Therefore, you know that everything is one.
Do you think psychedelics are a cheat code to obtaining that enlightenment?
No, because you go back. You go back to how you were.
But do you think there's other ways to obtain the same results without having it instantly?
Yeah. I mean, most of it is hard work. So like the practice that I like to do, there's a book called The Practice of the Experience of God. It's a book. And basically what this guy does, every second of, well, not every second, but when he can, is just he knows that for him to be with God, he needs to think about God. So most of his time, he just spent time contemplating God, because that's the highest thing you can think about. Like, what else could be higher than God?
God is perfect.
I'm saying, what thought can you have that is higher than that?
You can't.
You can't. So he's just contemplating God all the time. And by contemplating God all the time, he gradually became that. He became the God consciousness. He became what Jesus Christ is. Just pure love, pure awareness, pure peace. So only when you're thinking about God can you actually achieve that state that we're looking for, heaven. Before you enter heaven, forgive. But you can't forgive if you're not present. I mean, it's very complex. It's very complex stuff.
Yeah,
It
is. But there's truth to it, and even though it's complex, it resonates within humans.
This is why, like, when I'm reading this stuff, I'm like, holy shit! I know this somehow. Like, it resonates.
It's engraved within our DNA,
Like,
within our conscience.
Like somehow I know this prior to reading this. Like, it's like when I read this, I'm like, holy shit! This cannot be false. Like, this has to be because there's something inside you that knows.
Yes,
that's the truth.
And that's something that I keep on learning with people that I have on this podcast. All the people have that higher source seeking ability. They all want something above because they know that God is perfect and they know that God is a creator and he put so much beauty into this world for us to understand and for us to create more from it. So that's why when I told you earlier, I was like, God is vital. You texted me, you're like, we're ready to talk about God or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, God is a vital part of it. It's probably the key vital part of it, but it is not the only thing. Because yes, you should seek God, but to seek God, you also gotta look within you.
That's where the only God is. Like,
yeah.
Well, Eckhart Tolle is my mentor. In the beginning of the book, he says, there's a beggar in the street, and he has a box, and he's asked, how come you haven't looked in your box? I always see, but it's just, have you seen in your box? And basically, well, the whole premise is like, he had a treasure in the box, and like the whole thing is like inside you there's a treasure, and the beggar is, if you don't find that treasure within you, you're always gonna be begging. Like, if you don't find that God within you, you're gonna be a beggar your whole life. You're gonna be suffering because you're cut off from that treasure. And it's like, bro, I've only experienced that peace, that love, like maybe like for like 2 minutes max in my life, and that was in deep meditation. Or only when I'm reading like texts about God, I can feel that love, because when you have like fleeting like pleasures, like sex, drugs, alcohol, you have a high, but then you always come down.
Yes,
there's always a side to that pleasure. But when you experience love, when you experience peace, there's no opposite. It's just that. There's no opposite to love. There's no opposite to peace. Like, if you're in love, like you feel love inside you, there's no come down. There's no opposite. Like, you're always gonna be in that state. That's just there's no negative part to it. But then when you have sex, you're always gonna feel like shit after, or like you're gonna feel down, or you're gonna feel like, or if you have a drug, you're gonna feel, oh man, that was fun, but not anymore. But when you're in that state of bliss, there's no come down. You know that's God. Like, because there's no opposite.
It's pure.
It's pure. So when you're in, so I think when Jesus is speaking of heaven, that's the state he's looking for. He's telling you to look for that. That's.
Do you think we can find heaven on earth?
Yeah, that's within you. But you can only find it if you forgive. Forgiveness, what I mean is, like, there's roadblocks to be like. Do you understand? Like, when you're present, right? So, identification with your mind and with your ego keeps you in time. You can't function because
Keeps you humble.
Keeps you humble.
Yeah, it helps you understand that you're not in control, that something is in control.
Mm.
That you can only be in control of what's within you. And the things that are outside of you will always affect you, but your reaction towards it is what will help you navigate yourself and will help you overcome those obstacles.
I see that. But the point that I was saying was enlightenment, or like finding heaven. Well, in the Buddhist way is to end suffering, and then with Jesus is to find God, to find that love, to find that peace.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you can't find that if you're identified with your mind.
What do you mean?
So if you're identified with your mind and then you have thoughts, like those thoughts that happen are not you. Like they just happen, right? Like you have no control over the thoughts you have. And most of the thoughts that you have are negative.
So where are the thoughts coming from? From the environment?
That's the ego.
So it is within you.
So basically the ego is like wants to survive, right? Like any organism, the ego wants to survive.
Yes.
And the ego survives by consuming your consciousness. So by consuming your consciousness, what that means is like by getting your attention. So if you give those thoughts, if you are identified with those thoughts, the ego can now leech off your consciousness. Therefore, it can self-sustain because you give those thoughts energy. And then now, since you're identified, the ego now has unlimited energy because all your consciousness is on your thoughts. Like most of it. Most people's consciousness, 90% of them, are on their mind. They're living out like they're either thinking about the future or thinking about the past.
Mm-hmm. They're never in the present.
They're never in the present. And that's the ego. So the ego is self-sustaining with your consciousness.
I see.
So if you are fully in the present, then there's no time. Everything we have is here. But then if there's no time, that means there's no Juan. There's no Adriano. Like my past is erased. Like there's nothing. So when that happened, the ego dies.
Because there's nothing to build towards. What the wealth that you have is here, is now.
Right. But like to reach that state of love, to reach that state of peace, we need to kill the ego.
Yes.
But it's difficult because when you try to do that, then you'll die. You think you'll be dying.
Because your personality, your character,
this is why
your persona is dead.
This is
you
why
give yourself to others, to the world, to everybody.
This is why in so many religions there's just like the rebirth.
I see.
The rebirth. You have to kill yourself to live. You have to kill yourself, who you think you are, to be reborn.
I think this is the best explanation I've ever had for an ego death.
Yeah. So the guy, my mentor, says the biggest obstacle to God is time.
Yes. Yeah. The Four Agreements, the first story.
Mm.
Do you remember it?
It was Four Agreements. The first story was Don't Lie. Was it Not Lie?
No, not the first agreement. The first story that the book opens up with.
The Toltec.
Yes.
Telling
the person falls asleep in the cave and wakes up in the bliss of night. And he transcends himself. He's kind of like a spirit walking through the streets of this community.
Okay.
And he sees other people, but when he looks at other people, he sees a reflection of himself. He sees a mirror of himself.
Right.
And he understands that we are all one and we're all connected. We all seek the same thing, we just approach it differently. And then when he wakes up the next morning, he's the happiest person ever because he understands that he no longer lives for himself, but he lives himself through everybody.
Damn. It's hard. Separation is what keep us suffering.
Yeah. And that's why I don't believe in titles for religion. Because I think you're fighting for your ego,
Yeah, even God, like even saying like I believe in God, it's like
exactly.
Like even a person that might not believe in God, it might have a negative connotation to the word God.
Mm.
And then just by having that negative connotation, they might not believe in it. And same thing, like even if I speak to that person, hey, I'm speaking of a God, but it's the same thing if I'm speaking to you about honey, but you never tasted honey, like you have no idea what honey tastes like. And I can speak to you about honey all I want, but then you still don't know honey. You don't know what honey is if you haven't tasted it.
Yeah. You're speaking a completely different language.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why some cultures are more in touch with their own religions than what, let's say, you never see a person from India, learning about Christianity. It's not common.
Mm.
Or you don't see a person from Guatemala learning about Buddhism, because these things don't they don't resemble what we were taught as children. Sort of like we focused on our environment, and therefore from our environment we adapted and we started interacting with the community from that.
Mm. But I do feel like most religions point to the same thing.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I think it's just sort of like the approach.
Yeah, I mean, everything is signs.
They're
just pointing.
Yeah,
because words don't really mean anything. Like, we're just speaking.
Yeah.
But let's say I pray, but then they pray in a different language.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that my prayer is wrong. It's just like it's just about intention.
Yeah. Intention is really it.
So it's just about intention. So it's like if I'm praying for something, don't worry about how you're praying. If your intention is right, that's all that matters.
I agree.
Yeah.
In February, I was in Iceland.
Yeah.
And I was invited to this. I was with a bunch of strangers. I was invited to this cacao ceremony. Yeah, cacao ceremony.
Cacao ceremony?
Yeah.
Like you eating chocolate?
I was drinking chocolate, like straight from cacao, bro. Like that thing was bitter, bro.
Oh,
really.
But very healthy, right?
Sure. No clue, bro.
It was like raw from the plant?
Bro, that thing was like super strong. Like,
but was it raw from the plant?
I have no idea.
Oh.
I just got the hot chocolate and it smelled good. And then when I went to taste it, I was like, oh, no sugar here.
Oh, man.
It was really strong.
Yeah, that's...
but yeah, and you've tried it?
Mm-hmm.
And so here's a group of people, me, Colombian, people from the UK, people from other places in America, people from Iceland, people from anywhere, all over the world. And it's about, I want to say, 100 people, I want to say. Maybe 80 to 100. And we're all sitting in this circle. And there's the ceremony going on. And there's this person, talking, telling us, like, oh, drink the cacao, like, breathe in, breathe out. We start going in a circle saying words that mean something to us. For example, I believe I said humility.
Mm.
And so other people say awareness, love, and all these things. And then we sort of start, I don't want to say praying, but we start having this ceremony individually as a group.
Mm.
And everybody's praying to their own God, but the energy in the room was incredible, bro. It's like I've never felt closer to God in my life.
Fuck, bro. Yeah.
And in that room with all these strangers that I did not know at all, I felt God within me. And I understood that God did not set up boundaries between humans. It just spoke different languages to each human. But at the end of the day, it was the same thing. We're all connected. And this guy was saying words in Icelandic, bro.
Right.
That I didn't understand, but in my conscience, my intention was pure.
Yeah.
And I was able to fully understand the intention of those words. And everybody there understood it, bro. There was people crying. There was people on the floor just laying down. There was people dancing.
But was that like a religious event? It was meant to be like that?
I have no clue.
It just happened?
It just happened. I was just invited to it, and I was like, yeah. Sure, let's go.
Wow.
And it was in the attic of this house, bro. It was a building. It was just in the attic. And at the end, they were like, okay, now we're gonna dance. And you know,
Mm.
when you think dance in America, you think like,
Yeah.
but
What happened?
people were just dancing by themselves. But if you were to
Oh.
look at it from the outside, bro, it was just like a symphony of people dancing in their own way, bro.
Okay.
And people then started like, sort of like flowing with one another. Like everybody was dancing to their own rhythm of the music, but people weren't crashing into each other. They were kind of flowing in between each other.
They were completely in flow, or like in the present, or
Yeah. And it was so beautiful, bro.
damn.
And I remember I like grabbed this stranger, which is now a friend to me. Her name is Carolina. And I started dancing with her, bro. And I don't dance, bro. I never dance. And I remember just like feeling so happy dancing with her.
And you just flew. You just it flew like a.
Yeah. And people were dancing with each other. And it was like people that would have never spoken with one another. And it was incredible, bro. And that to me is God right there, bro. That's God manifesting himself, his beauty, his power.
Bro, that's beautiful, bro. That's beautiful.
Dude, I started shaking while I was saying that, bro.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Yeah, I feel like God he wants to experience himself through us. And now all different. But then for him to experience himself again, but he wants to. Oh, damn. What I thought was that God wants to find himself again and again and again. He wants to find himself over and over and over and over through our own consciousness.
Yeah. And it's engraved within us, bro. It's all within us. How is it possible that people from all over the world with different cultures, languages, perspectives all seek the same thing?
They understand. There's a certain law, like music. You can just the law of one. Fuck, man.
Bro, I think I will end it with that.
It's good.
You're gonna come back on eventually. How do you feel?
That was great.
That was 2 hours, bro.
Damn. It felt less.
It felt like 30 minutes.
Felt less. Damn.
Do you have any last words? Like, just anything that you, aside from all the wisdom that you already gave, which was incredibly a lot. And thank you for being so vulnerable, bro. And for speaking from your heart. That's really hard. It's very courageous.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to, I want to make like religion, I guess, practical, or like finding God something practical. But all I can say is just try to find it within yourself. Like, you should ask yourself the basic questions, like why am I here? Or like, what is the purpose of this? And then find yourself within that. You're always gonna go back to the same answer, which is you gotta find God. You gotta find that thing within you, and then whatever it might be, it might be Buddhism for you. It might be Jesus. It might be whatever resonates with you. And the cool thing is like prayer. Like, prayer works because you set an intention. So if you, like, for me, like I have a problem forgiving people, right? If you just pray about it, I'm like, yo, God, please help me forgive this person. Like, he will set emotions to things that need to happen within you to forgive that person. And all you gotta do is just set that intention. Like, God, please. And then what the Bible says, you only need a mustard seed of faith to make it work. You don't need that much faith. So just a little bit of faith to whatever problem you're working with in your life. Just ask God with a little bit of faith and set that intention, and then you'll see how magically, he helps you.
Amen.
Yeah.
I told you before we started that I didn't want the podcast to be about religion and God.
Right.
Because I felt like that's not the idea of it. There's more to teach on how to be successful than just focusing on God.
Right.
But at the end of the day,
man, it's just real. Always comes back to it.
It always does. And it's not my intention to reel it to God, because you saw that, like, we talked about political stuff and all of these things, but it always dials down to God.
But is it you find that those things don't matter compared to God?
Yeah.
Those things don't matter. Like, you can be as successful as possible, multimillionaire, and you can still be suffering, and you can still be, people that are millionaires kill themselves every single day.
Yeah.
So the purpose is not to get wealth or be millionaire or be known. That's not true happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing that's real is just finding God. That's the only thing that's real. That's the only thing, in my opinion, that is worth talking about.
Yeah. Success isn't measured by how much money you got, but by how content you are with yourself.
Yeah. Are you at ease at this moment? Are you happy with your current situation? Are you in fear, or are you in love? There's only two emotions.
Yeah. Sheesh. Thank you for coming, bro. Man, come here, bro. I'm gonna give you a hug, bro.
Fuck, bro.
Thank you for sticking around. It's been a fun 10 weeks so far, and I'm excited for what's to come. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please reach out to him, connect with him, and do whatever you gotta do. Thank you.